Google's bought a lot of companies over the last 3 years in this space. You know, AdMeld, TerraCent, Invite. Do you think you've done a good job of consolidating that into one stack? I mean, how's that process gone?
So it's definitely been a big area of focus for our engineers across the entire stack. So for those of you that don't know, I think many of the folks in the room do, I actually came to Google via the acquisition of DoubleClick when we sold DoubleClick to Google. So a big portion of my effort and a primary growth engine of the display business at Google has been through the integration of DoubleClick itself. But based on the success of that, we've actually been even more open to acquisitions, Invite, AdMeld, TerraCent, recently Wildfire, as you mentioned. And the vision there is less about sort of what we should go out and buy or acquire, and more about fundamentally what our advertisers and publishers have been looking for. And every one of those acquisitions has been driven by conversations with our advertiser and publisher customers, many of whom are in this room. We're probably never going to be sort of out of the process of integration, because hand in hand with integration comes just organic innovation and new ideas and new concepts. And when we integrate technologies, it's not just a matter of kind of gluing things and stitching them together. It's about how do we re-envision what that technology can do. For example, the integration of Invite Media into the rest of the DoubleClick stack has been all about what are the new types of capabilities we can bring to the DSP platform that's being used by our big agency partners. How can we give them those types of customizations? Similarly with AdMeld on the sell side.
And is that division, the end-to-end stack, is that what you want to bring to market? That full solution from buy side to sell side? Is that, you know, is that the vision?
Yeah, you know, again, sort of breaking it back down to first principles. Fundamentally, whenever I'm out talking to our advertiser and agency partners, what they're asking me for is a truly integrated platform across all channels. And for them, the conversation is often about programmatic, but it doesn't stop there, right? Yeah. Because a lot of the media that's still put to work in the digital space is bought on a reservations basis. It's sponsorship. You know, fundamentally with what they're looking to do with DFA. Obviously, there's the programmatic space, but increasingly there's video and mobile. And most recently, a lot of our conversations have been around how do they integrate their efforts in social, around brand identity management, et cetera, with the rest of their paid media. And so our vision is to provide that holistic integrated platform, but do it in a way that's truly open as well. So for example, on the buy side of our stack, advertisers and agencies plug in their own, obviously their own data and their own sort of optimization and insights, but also other technologies. They might use a different rich media vendor than the one that we provide in studio, et cetera.
So, but you obviously work on the buy side and sell side. How do you manage that conflict? I mean, there is a thought process in this space to say, well, you can't serve both masters. You have to be on the buy side or sell side. How do you sort of square that away with the publishers and some of the advertisers you work with and agencies? You
know, it's pretty simple. When I'm having conversations with our publishers and advertiser and agency partners, it's never really about, well, you know, Google, are you conflicted here, or what are you doing? Why did you talk to that advertiser yesterday? I'm a publisher, blah blah blah. It's really about what are the things that we can do together to grow the business of our customers. And the fundamental sort of principle of our business is we can't be successful unless we make more money for our publishers, and we can't be successful if we don't deliver better results, ROI measured by brand objectives, DR objectives, what have you, for our advertisers. And that's what keeps us true to kind of doing the right things on behalf of our customers.
And you know, on the buy side, Google has a particularly strong relationship with publicists globally. I mean more so than any other agency. I mean, do you think that lining yourself with one agency like that sort of hampers your sort of ability to be a universal option, or am I incorrect in making that observation?
I think you're slightly inaccurate in making that observation.
I've been told that many times.
Yeah. We work with all the major agency holding companies. We have deep partnerships with all of them across, and they all have different characteristics in terms of how they work with Google. We, of course, have a great relationship with Publicis. They were one of our early partners in this space. We continue to grow that, but we obviously also have great partnerships with the other agency holding companies and independent agencies for that matter as well. I think the most important thing is that each one of those relationships is unique in terms of its characteristics, in terms of what aspects of the technology stack, but also what the objectives are for that particular agency.
Okay.
And we just need to be flexible.
I'm going to talk about the publishers. Regarding the publisher tools you're developing, what do you think the publishers are looking for in this space, particularly? I mean, what are you seeing as the core requirements from publishers?
So I think Paul actually summed up a lot of the big trends in the space as it relates to publishers, and frankly, we're seeing a lot of the same things that Paul alluded to, which is the conversation now compared to the conversation, frankly, 3 years ago with publishers and media companies in general has been around how do we turn this into a huge opportunity for us. We did a recent study, actually probably close to a year ago now, with our publisher partners that were making their inventory available on our exchange. We found that when they did it and took advantage of technologies like dynamic allocation between ATS and DFP, they saw on average something on the order of over a 70% lift in revenue, not in eCPMs, revenue, so eCPMs times sell-through rate, compared to the other channels that they'd been working with in terms of hard coding their tags and with the various indirect channels, et cetera. And so I think first of all, revenue and controls speak for themselves, but I think the really interesting area is sort of the new business models that it's opening up. We talked about private exchanges. I alluded to this ability to allow publishers to act like buyers, one of the new capabilities we're bringing to market that many folks in the room may not be aware of is a native audience extension capability built into DFP for publishers. So publishers can act as buyers directly from their primary ad management capability, depending on what their various use cases are. If they're oversold, they can reach into an exchange pool, overlay their data on top of other inventory, and get value from their audiences that way. They can offer 100% coverage of a particular geo or metro on behalf of advertisers, and they can do it in a way by taking advantage of all the sort of channel and page quality controls that are already built into our exchange platform.
Is that just Google inventory, or is that other supply sources as well? I mean,
so right now it's starting with all the inventory that's available and all the reach that's available on AdX, but the goal is to extend it beyond that by really giving sort of native DSP-like functionality into DFP, the new version of DFP, for those familiar in the coming months and quarters.
I mean, the UK's market is unique, but like the European publishers are very, very different from this market. I mean, what do you see as distinct requirements of European publishers? I mean, what do you think of initiatives like Laplace and those type of publisher collaboration? I mean, does Google have to sort of alter its strategy in those markets significantly?
I think the fundamental strategy has to be the first principle is, our publishers know their business is the best. And so whatever approach makes sense in the market for those publishers, and frankly for the advertisers as well in those markets, is one that we should look to support. So whether that's a preferred marketplace type concept where publishers work with a handful of white labeled advertisers, whether it's, which we've seen in the US market, for example, whether it's some of those private sort of quote unquote premium exchange type environments, which we're seeing here in Europe, and also or some of the anchor tenant sort of virtual networks that we see here in the UK. We need to support all of that, and our technology, whether it's DFP, AdX, or the integration of AdMeld, needs to come together to actually be flexible enough to do that. And the good news is that we've been able to work with all of these various models at our publisher partners. We still have work to do in terms of integration of the stack and being able to seamlessly support video and mobile, because the standards are evolving there, but that's kind of where we stand today.
So, I mean, there seems to be a trend in the market about the open ecosystem, and I mean, how will Google work on that open ecosystem? And what's your take on sort of the app strategy that seems to be happening? Like companies are building on top of the infrastructure. I mean, is that core to your plans going forward?
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's been core to our plans from day one.
Yeah.
And I'll just take it step by step. On the buy side, we've had a truly open platforms. Many of you heard me talk about the new DoubleClick on the buy side, DoubleClick Digital Marketing, which, as I said, represents an integrated solution across all those various channels, but it's built in a truly modular fashion. So, for example, if you want to use a different programmatic buying capability alongside the rest of your DoubleClick suite, you can do that. If you want to use a different creative capability alongside of that, you can do that. And it's built in a modular fashion. We, of course, believe that there's a lot of benefits to an integrated solution, and that's what our agency and advertiser partners tell us, but we're also flexible to allow them to work with their individual technologies. That's on the buy side.
Right.
On the sell side, we've had a tradition of working via our API. The Dart platform has had an API that's pretty extensive for well over a decade. The new version of DFP, sometimes lovingly referred to as XFP, has an even more robust set of APIs and capabilities where people have built workflow management, have built sales channel management, have built reporting and insights, yield management, et cetera, all on top of the API. So it's been a core part of our strategy all along, and it's one that we think, frankly, is great for, not just great for our customers, but it's great for Google because that's what fosters innovation in the space.
Okay. We are seeing quite a lot of this customization theme around buy side. I mean, how does Google enable clients to build differentiated solutions? You know, do you think Bid Manager will have to sort of alter its bidding logic to facilitate all the advertisers on the stack? I mean, how do you see that piece going? Is that something you're going to see more and more of on the buy side?
Yes, I think that's going to be. So in a short answer, yes. I think it's going to be something that's that not only Google is going to enable, but frankly, I think it's going to be a requirement for any company participating both on the buy side and the sell side. And what I mean by that is, you know, you mentioned Bid Manager. I think many folks have heard in the new version of Bid Manager the ability to give our agency partners that sort of flexibility. Google is a technology company. We should be as white label as possible in terms of working with our partners and allow for a flexible optimization algorithms, bidding algorithms, flexible insights in terms of reporting, plug and play ability of first and third party data, et cetera. And we think that gives each one of our buying partners a unique value proposition and allows them to highlight what makes their agency distinctive relative to their competitors.
Okay, I know we're pressed for time because we're running way over. I'm just going to open it up to the floor to see if there's any questions for Neal. Come on. I know we're all Google customers, but like, oh, don't be shy. This gentleman,
Yes.
have we got a microphone for this guy?
I can shout.
Okay.
So Neal, you haven't said anything about Facebook, but given all the announcement the last week or two, you must have some opinions.
Yeah, what have they been up to?
Don't like Facebook and Exchangewire.
So first of all, I think that it's a lot of what they've been focused on is a validation of the space that we all in this room have been believers in for a long time. As I said, it's just amazing to see kind of the exponential growth of the space, and they as a new participant are just sort of validating it further. So that's the first point I would make. I think. As I said earlier, our belief is one of the key areas of strength, and one of the things that's most exciting about this space is a truly open ecosystem where all participants can actively participate. We hope that that's, generally speaking, something that everybody in the industry adheres to. We don't have any sort of insights into kind of what they're up to or what the strategy is. Our job is to continue, working with our partners, both on the buy side and the sell side, to be as open and as flexible as possible. But other than the fact that it's truly a validation of our space, I don't really have much more to say there.
Mike, hold on, we've got a microphone.
So if you guys are adding audience extension to DFP, is that going to be just on AdX or on all inventory platforms?
So for starters, just for technology reasons, it's going to start with AdX, but our goal is to definitely open it up to other inventory platforms as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Neal, thanks very much.
Great,
Round of
thank
applause
you.
for Neal.